Near to us tomorrow, Griffin Park the setting.
Yeah.
Big game. You always talk about the stresses and strains of management. Tanned.
It's early in the season.
It's
very early in the season, isn't it? I think, no, I feel okay. You know, I think I've been in the game a long time now, and I'm used to all the different situations that come my way. So I'm fairly relaxed about things. You know, like anybody, don't like losing football matches, but overall I have a fairly sort of even perspective on things now.
How do you describe the start of the season that you've had?
We could have done better. I think points-wise, we could have done better. We lost our first game at Swansea, which we maybe shouldn't have done. We had a lot of the ball in that game. Gave 2 silly goals away, we felt, against Blackpool, but bounced back with a great win last week. So hopefully that's the start of our good form. On our day, I think we can give most teams in the division a really good game.
You were tipped as obviously one of the hot favourites because of last year and what
Yeah.
happened with the disappointment with the penalties ultimately. That was a fair tag to put on you, though, wasn't it? Expectation must be pretty high.
Well, I think we've pretty much got more or less the same team. What we have done is lost Ryan Taylor to the Premiership, which is a big blow, and that's almost impossible for us to replace. You know, when you have a Premiership player in the making in your team, when they move on, at our level, it is impossible to replace them. So, you know, it could be said that we're slightly weaker than we were last season, but we've replaced well. You know, we also lost Paul Hall, but we've signed a young fella. Signed Sam Aston from Shrewsbury, who we think, you know, can make a difference to us. He's done very well in his first 3 games, and it's always been felt by a lot of people down the lower leagues that Sam has the potential to play higher. So he could be a major player for us this season. And also 1 or 2 of our younger players are now beginning to develop. You know, Ian Hume's still with us and is a good player. We have another young 17-year-old in the first team at the moment, Steve Davis, who we think is going to be a really top player. So we always produce a good player or 2 at the club, and that's always very important for our progress as well. And
Chris Greenacre as well, in from Stoke. Goals
yeah,
already, and that's another talent, isn't it?
Well, we feel that Chris could be a very important player for us this season. You know, he's had a season or 2 at Stoke where he hasn't played as a striker. We've given him the opportunity again to play, and we were under a lot of pressure from 1 or 2 clubs in our division to try and get him. Thankfully, we got him in the end. He's already scored 4 goals in the first 3 games, so he could be a major asset to us this season.
How tough is the start of the season when you're outside the Premiership? I mean, you look at the Premiership and they've played 1 game. Outside of that, it's very easy for people to forget how many fixtures in a short space of time come your way.
Well, the first week was really tiring, I think. You know, even though you're fresh and you can't wait for it to come around, by the time we played Saturday, Tuesday, Friday, and by the end of Friday night, when we won the game, there was a massive relief. Even at that early stage in the season, pressure does mount up on you very quickly, even at our level. And had we gone 3 games in 7 days without a win, it would have been a real tough start for us. So it is physically and mentally very demanding at this stage of the season for the lower divisions.
Is there too much at the start of the season?
I don't believe so. I think for all the demands that are on players, I think players at our level enjoy playing most of all. Getting on the training ground is important, obviously, but playing games is where they come into their own. They enjoy that more than anything else. Keeping them occupied in quiet periods is the most difficult thing, I think, for lower level players. And I think players in our division just really enjoy playing the games themselves.
Well, Port Vale, as we all know, are a joint top of League One at present. And Brentford beaten by them the other night. Have you seen that game? Have you looked at it?
Yeah, I've watched as much as I feel I need to watch. There are certain points that I like to pick out of games, and when I have something stuck in my mind, then I like to turn away from it. But Vale, for me, on their day, last season proved that with their best team, they beat most of the top sides in the division, so it wasn't a shock to me that they beat Brentford. But Brentford are a very strong side. You know, they're a mirror of their manager, who I have a great admiration for already in the game. You know, I mean, he's a young man who's come into the game, and I think he's made a great impact at Brentford, and his team mirror his personality. You know, they're very enthusiastic, they're very committed, and they're a really good side. So I think they'll have a good shout this season as well.
And it's not an easy place to go at the best of times, but Lloyd Owusu, Isaiah Rankin, they can play, and they're a constant threat. Is that your main concern tomorrow?
Well, I think we believe they'll get plenty service into their strikers, most especially at home. So our defenders have to play very well. We have to defend well there. But I think the important part of our team tomorrow will be how we counter-attack. We have Greenacre, we have Ian Hume, who's very quick, we have Sam Aston, who's very quick. So I'd like to think that on the counter-attack we might cause them a problem or 2.
Will they be in the shake-up along with yourselves towards the end of the season, Brentford?
Well, I hope we are, but I genuinely would say at this moment in time there's no reason to suspect Brentford won't be there. But I think there'll be one or two surprises. One or two teams don't get mentioned that I thought last season were excellent. Huddersfield I thought were a really good side, a young side who towards the end of the season had a great run in. Doncaster, who haven't started well, I still think will have a say in the division. And there are several others. I mean, Bristol City, bottom of the table at the moment, you can't believe that. You would think they will get it going very, very soon. No, it's a very evenly matched division, our division this season. And it would be very difficult to have an outright favourite, I think. I think it's going to be a very tight and very difficult season for all teams.
There's been an addition to your squad this week, Alex Bruce. The surname's familiar. Tell us about him.
Yeah, Steve's son. I spoke to Steve quite a bit in the summer, just before they went off on tour. We were talking about young Alex joining me then, but he got injured on tour, and we've had to wait several weeks for him to come to us. But he played against us on a couple of occasions last season, on loan at other clubs in our division, and again, it's one of those situations for me as a manager where you see a young player and straight away he sticks in your mind and you say, I'd like to have him playing for me one day. I think Alex will do a good job for us, and what I saw of him last season is the main reason for me wanting him to be in our squad this season. So I think he'll do well. He'll enjoy it. We're a fairly young side. We do have, you know, Mark Rankin, Jason McAteer for experience, obviously. But in the main, we're a young side, and I think Alex will mix in very well with us.
You've just touched on my next point. Jason McAteer, 34, all the experience in the world. What's it like having him around? Is he behaving himself these days?
He's great. He's actually a great role model for all the kids. You know, he walks around and there is a certain group of 4 or 5 who follow him everywhere. You know, he's like the godfather to them, really. So he's a smashing lad. And if you know Jason, there's always a joke or two in his locker. Both verbally in many ways, because he's capable of telling great jokes, but he's also capable of the odd clanger or two, you know. So he's great fun, he's great entertainment, loves what he's doing, which is the most important thing, and you know, has got on really well with me. I like Jason. I've always thought he'd be a good player to have around. You know, a year or two back, I actually joked with him at a football match when I was sitting next to him. I said, you know, you'll have to come and play for me one day. And here he is playing for me. I'm at Tranmere, which is his local team. Got a call off him a year or so back saying it's ready. It's ready for me to play for you now. So I'm delighted he's there. He's a real character around the club, but he's very serious about his football as well. You know, we laugh and joke, but once the games come around, he's as serious as anybody and wants to win.
A 4-0 win over Oldham in the last game for you, obviously. As you said, Brentford a defeat for them, but it is at Griffin Park. What would you take from tomorrow? A draw?
Well, I think possibly at this moment in time, if you said I could go away with it with the point, I would say, yeah, that's fine. That's a nice starting point. But as ever, as a manager, you know, you go into all games hoping to win, and you know, it would be nice for us to win again. I think getting your first win away from home under your belt is very important. So it would be nice to start with that this weekend.
Well, it's Friday night. You're in London. You're looking very sharp. What now? Back to the team hotel, or do you sneak a night out where the lads are tucked up in bed?
No, straight back to the hotel, straight to bed, and early night out. I think, you know, at my age, I need my sleep. So you know, I have to be bright and ready for the game tomorrow.
Excellent. That's the official line, anyway, isn't it?
The proper line, I assure you.
Hey, once a footballer, always a footballer, Brian. You know that. Thanks for joining us.
It's a pleasure.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.